Negative energies. Using negative energies to cause harm to someone else is a very ancient practice in the world. In India, they made a whole science of it. Of the four Vedas, the Atharvana Veda is all about occult practices. It also talks extensively about how to use the energies to your advantage and to someone else's detriment. It explains how, if someone who has mastery over this wants to use it, extreme suffering and even death can be caused. There is no doubt about it. One simple way people try to hurt others is through a curse. Now, what is a curse? It is a certain level of black, negative thought that is directed towards you. Because of this, you become sick. When this happens, if you don't find a good doctor, you can become mentally unstable or even die. In the olden days, most people who became mentally unstable would die in very short time because they would do something which would kill them. Either that or they would not eat and just run themselves down. Only a certain kind of people were in a state of peaceful madness or pleasant madness would last long. It is possible for curses to even kill the person who curses. If they don't know how to let out the poison they generate, it could kill them or it could kill someone else. Right now, let us say someone wants to curse you to death. They have generated a certain amount of blackness in their minds and let it out, but you happen to be a little away or in some way you are not available to this. Another person who happens to be close by may receive the curse and die instead. This is like every time you fire a gun, it is not necessary you hit the person that you aim at. You may hit some bystander. In fact, it is a bystander that gets hit most of the time. Some people suffer unexplained levels of tragedies or disturbance after they visited a certain place. Everything goes wrong in their life. Then suddenly they recover one day and become okay. It is very dangerous to say these things because then people will start imagining things and create a lot of drama about it. But at the same time, it is very much possible that other influences that they are not conscious of have touched them. Today, you need not be too worried about people trying to harm you because there are not too many people who can do occult or black arts. Even if there are people who claim to do these things, they are of doubtful capabilities. In the past, everyone had a family witch doctor. Just as they had a family doctor or a lawyer, they used to be so in South India and to some extent in the north also. They would not do anything without consulting them. That tradition has more or less died out completely. What we see of these things today is mostly exaggerated fear and little understanding of the tradition. Human imagination has no control, and unfortunately, there are many charlatans who are using fear as the key. If there is fear, negative impact will keep happening because fear itself is black art. Otherwise, why would people get scared in a horror movie? They scream, they hold hands in fear. Some even get up and run away when we all know it is only light falling upon from the projector. If you simply keep your hand across the projector, the ghost is finished. Everyone knows this. Still, all the drama keeps happening. People are not acting scared, it is actually happening to them. So, in many instances, fear itself can work like a black art. You don't have to do more. Essentially, the entire Atharvana Veda is about how to use your energies to create well being or destroy one's life. Because these arts are like double edged swords. You can swing it both ways. Manifesting or avoiding illness, death, or disaster is also possible. If one wants to be able to kill someone, it is not that simple. It takes a lot to actually cause death to someone unless they manage to put something in the food. I don't mean a chemical poison, there are certain energetically charged forms that could be put in the food, which would enter the system. Depending upon how vulnerable you are to these things, accordingly at that pace and intensity, these things would grow within you. As it grows in the system, it slowly destroys everything about the person. It can eventually cause death, but to be able to do this, one would need access to the person's food. Without that, causing death to someone would take a lot. I think there are only a handful of people in the world today who could do that. Is acquiring such capabilities will demand extreme striving and risk to their own well-being in life. This fortunately is a deterrent. Most of these people are using the psychology of fear to make things happen, but they can certainly cause a lot of disturbance beyond psychological factor. They can cause havoc in the energy system and in turn in their body. In terms of disturbance, it is relatively easier to disturb people mentally. This is so especially for women. A woman has a greater biological responsibility of bearing a child and keeping the race going. So she goes through phases in her physiology which makes her vulnerable at certain times. In terms of harming the body is not so easy to do. The body is an organism which is reinventing itself every day in so many ways. When I say reinventing itself, let us say you eat 1 kilogram of food. Of this kilogram of food, at least about 300 to 400 grams becomes the body. So a certain reinvention and recycling is happening in the body because it is reinventing itself every day in a certain way. The body has protection of its own. If you want to do something to the body, let us say cause some ailment to the person, it will take much more capability to do that than to psychologically freak someone out. The content of the mind keeps spinning on old things, so psychologically freaking someone out is the easiest thing to do. Of the 5 elements that make our body, water, because of its liquid nature, is the easiest to influence. In the science of Bhuta Suddhi, thought, emotion, and blood are all under the management of the water element. Considering their vulnerability, it is natural for evil intentions to aim towards the water element in our system. If someone wants to do something physiologically, the easiest thing to affect is the blood. When someone is under some kind of negative energies or that kind of influence, their blood work will go crazy. This is always the sign. This is not in any way connected with any of the organ functions. Every day it will manifest differently because blood is the flowing part of who you are. After the mind, blood is the most susceptible thing. The next thing that can be affected is your liver or your kidneys because once again certain things flow through these. But if someone wants to cause a heart attack to a person, that is very difficult because the heart just pumps. There is no chemical process. Sometimes there are certain types of people who manage to cause neurological disorders also, but by and large, these are the main kinds of harm they can cause to a person. In the 21st century, it is very hard to believe that such things are possible, but unfortunately, they do exist. Above all, it is vulnerability of fear that generally does a large part of the work. If one, either through devotion or meditativeness, comes to a sense of fearlessness, that is the simplest way of being above such base arts. Now, how to get rid of the negative impact? If one is already suffering from the ill effects of the black arts, what is the best way to rid oneself of these effects? There are many ways to sort out these situations. One simple way is to be in the space of Dhanalinga for 3 days. If you notice, there are 2 shrines at the very entrance of Dhanalinga, the Vanasri and Patanjali shrine. Together, they form a 15-degree angle with the Dhyanalinga. This is created so that these negative influences are just taken care of as people enter the space. Even before they seek anything else, if people just walk in that space for about 60 or 70 feet towards the Dhyanalinga, these negativities will be removed. A human mind is a structure with a million rooms. When one accidentally breaks into a new segment of one's mind, when they know or do not know, and their basic character may change, sometimes even new languages may surface, and this could be easily misunderstood as being possessed by a new force. Once inside the dome, those who think they are possessed by some beings or who are impacted by the occult in such problems should sit either within the 15-degree angle in front of the Dhyanalinga or behind it. That space has been specially created to remove these influences. People who are affected by these negative influences should come to Dhyanalinga on 3 specific days. One day before the new moon, on the new moon, and the day after the new moon. They should offer a lemon on each of these days to the Dhyanalinga. They can also sit in the Linga Vairavi and do an Abhisekam, and it will be over. A Linga Vairavi yantra can also definitely take care of it. If one has such a powerful energy form in one's house, there is no worry. But the Linga Vairavi yantra has a limited range that is effective for only around 2000 to 2500 square feet. Even that depends on the layout of the house. Suppose a house is in a zigzag shape, then the fringes of the house may be out of range. The Linga Vairavi Abhigya Yantra may work for 4000 square feet. But again, it needs to be centrally located in the house for maximum benefit. If people are in touch with it, negative energies will not individually affect them, that is for sure. Having a Linga Vairavi Yantra or Abhigya Yantra may not be possible for everyone. So a simple fix is to come and spend some time at the Dhyanalinga. It is a big yantra. They can come and make use of it. If there is something very serious where we think something terrible may happen to them, we can prepare some other device. But we have done that only once or twice. It takes lots of work to do it. It is not the good kind of work, not the kind of work I like. Consecrating an Adiyogi or a Devi or something like that is a joy. These are terrible things to do, but they are useful. If there is a strong sadhana, one does not have to worry about all these things. For such a person, all these things don't matter. For example, if the brahmacharis sit in Siddhasana with their eyeballs rolled up intensely, it will all be gone in 2 minutes. Then one can go and sleep in the cremation ground and still be perfectly fine. They said Shiva always slept in the cremation ground to convey that it does not matter where the hell one is, when internally one is fully fired up. But for regular people who are constantly influenced by which is around them, what is around them, periodic purification are needed. Otherwise, slowly inertia will set in. These are not big things, but these small things can slow down people. This is happening to people all the time. You might have picked it up in so many places you don't know. It can come from the food that you eat, the places that you walk upon, or the air that you breathe. It could even be just the atmospheres that you went into or certain spaces that you came in contact with, and so on. It can make life difficult because now certain inertia has set in. It is extra weight, that is all. But if you have just a little extra load, you will see everything suddenly becomes much more effortful. So it is always best to do some sort of periodic cleansing of these things. Traditionally, there were systems in this society where people periodically went through some cleansing. This is also the significance of the people taking a dip in the river. In all the holy places in India, you go and dip yourself 3 times in the river, in flowing river. It becomes a big cleansing. This is one reason why people bathe in rivers. It is simple way to cleanse yourself from these influences. Of course, today you cannot dip yourself in a river because flowing rivers are so few and even those are highly polluted. But if there is a good river and if you bath every day in the river, that is a simple way of washing off everything. It is Klesanasana, where instead of fire you use flowing water to cleanse. A shower is not very effective for this because in most places the shower does not have that much of volume of water to make a difference. Using at least a mug or a bucket is better. Tirthakunda, of course, will do the job. Rain is also good Klesanasana. Rainwater can do wonders to one's energy. These are simple ways by which one can protect oneself from little bits of negative influences that one may have gathered unconsciously.